Good evening and welcome to the third annual Nope Candlelight Vigil being held across the state of Florida. This vigil is in recognition of the losses that our families and communities have suffered with individuals afflicted with drug addiction and affected with the drug use that is so prevalent in today's society. I'm Bill Janes. Until my retirement in August of this year, I was the director of the Office of Drug Control in Governor Charlie Crist's office and the Assistant Secretary for Substance Abuse, Mental Health in the Department of Children and Family. In the Office of Drug Control, my role was to work on building community collaborations. There is no stronger, more important collaboration than what you are participating in this evening with NOPE, the Narcotics Overdose Prevention and Education Group. In the Office of Drug Control, we also develop strategies to deal with the spread, the devastation of substance abuse in our state and in the country. We also developed policies which were manifested in legislation passed by the Florida legislature. This year, we passed a prescription drug monitoring bill for the first time in 8 years, and it is a direct result of the collaborations in our communities, the outrage that I will talk about later at drug overdose, deaths, prevalence of drugs, problems with treatment, and beginning to deal with this problem more effectively. Our communities experience the outrage and work with legislators, and again, for the first time in 8 years, we have legislation to create a prescription drug monitoring bill. It will not solve the problem, but it will be an important step forward. I'm also very concerned in the Office of Drug Control with funding and how we provide critical dollars for prevention and treatment. Funding for substance abuse has long been lacking and is a major problem, and NOPE has derived funding with local activities, with major charity events that enable those members of NOPE to give presentations and to touch tens of thousands of lives to provide the critical prevention and treatment so necessary in our state. NOPE has been long focused on alcohol and drug addiction, those core problems. How often we know of the scenario, learn of the scenario, where a young person starts with alcohol, with cigarettes, moves to marijuana, and then more serious drug use. These problems with addiction are manifested in 3 areas. Someone addicted to drugs craves that drug. They get up each day. Their focus of the day is, how do I obtain the drug? Because the body craves it physically and psychologically. The second area is control the amount of drug use. There's a misbelief that an addict can control drug use or alcohol use. I will drink 2 beers tonight. Well, that's not the case. There's large consumption, often other drug use. We knew with the prescription drug legislation that we were losing 6 Floridians a day to drug overdose deaths. Think about that. As our vigil is held this evening, 6 more Floridians will have died because of prescription drugs alone. That does not include cocaine and other drugs. But again, we have taken a strong first step towards prescription drugs. You cannot control the amount. The third area is an addict continues to use drugs despite negative consequences. We can tell a drug addict that he or she will lose their job, their family, will go to jail or prison, could lose their life. But if they're addicted, they cannot make a decision to stop using the drug. Why? Because it's a disease. That's the part that's so misunderstood. As I have spoken across the state, I constantly encounter individuals who do not understand or accept the disease concept. They believe everything is a matter of choice. Well, that's scientifically proven not to be the case. Treatment is effective. We must get individuals into treatment. However, treatment is not funded at the level that it need be, and treatment doesn't always work. That's a huge concern for me. Those issues bring us together tonight. But at a candlelight vision, at a candlelight vigil, it's a solemn event that we come together to address our grievances, our concerns, our grief, our very lives that have been changed because of what substances have done to those closest to us. I recently attended a presentation by Dr. Dan Reidenberg, and Dan made some very great points that I will share with you this evening. He talked about a woman who came to him and said, my mother is in her 80s. She has early stage Alzheimer's. She was being treated with a drug that did cause another disease. The woman was in tears, asking why. Why would we not be able to prevent this problem? Do better. This question of why is so prevalent. We know why drug addiction is spreading. We know some of what we can do with it. But in other cases, we are left with our grief. And our grief is very, very important, and grieve we must. And tonight I ask you to look to the person to your right or to your left and smile. There may be tears in that smile because of the losses that you have suffered. But we will get through this together. Edna St. Vincent Millay, the first woman ever to receive the Pulitzer Prize, wrote in one of her poems, "Life must go on, though good men die. Life must go on, I forget just why." Well, we can never forget just why. Our loved ones did not want to leave us, and in many cases, they were not educated, did not understand the dangers of these drugs. They did not get effective treatment. Their families were vulnerable. We did not help them. Your effort, our effort tonight is intended to address that. Grieve we must. Dr. Reidenberg provided a very useful statement that I think is appropriate for this evening. Grieve a while for your lost one. If grieve you must, then let your grief be comforted by trust. It's only for a while that we must part, so keep the memories of me within your heart. Nope will continue, as will the chapters who have organized their vigil tonight, to work on prevention, education, on the dangers of drug use. We know mental illness impacts drug use. That's why so much of my efforts, our agency efforts, have been to bring together substance abuse and mental health treatment. Like addiction, we can treat depression. Your efforts this evening, your support, can help prevent the losses that many, if not all of you, have suffered. My heart is with you. I'm honored to be a part of NOPE's efforts this evening. Pause for a moment and reflect on that grief that we must have that's appropriate in a candlelight vigil. Thank you very much, and good night.